Daniela says, "Oh my dear. I'm leaving, will you keep my mother company?" "Don't leave her alone," and Paolo said, "You can't leave her, I'll take good care of her and everything will be fine and you can go to work in peace." Daniela's mother agrees, so Daniela says goodbye. When entering the house, Daniela sees her vase on the floor and asked, "What happened here? What is my vase doing here on the floor and broken? On my expensive porcelain?" Her mother says, "What is this, my daughter? Are you clinging to material goods?" Daniela says, "I like this vase so much." Paolo gets up and says, "Love, don't worry about it, you can let me give you a brand new one, don't worry." Soon Daniela sees a bra thrown in the room and asks, "What about this bra here? Guys, what happened here? Can I know?" Her mother replied, "No, my daughter, it's just that I went for some clothes to wash and it fell here and I didn't see it." And Paolo also agrees and explains what had happened. The mother gets up and asks her daughter to hand over the bra she is going to put on to wash, and Daniela says, "No, you can let me take it." She looks at Paolo and says, "Love, I'm going to wash." Daniela opens the lid of the machine and sees that there were no clothes inside and screams, "Mom, are you sure you put laundry in here? Is it empty?" Daniela thinks, "They're up to something with me, but I'm going to find out." Daniela walks back to them and again asks if she had put laundry on. The mother gets up and says, "No, my daughter, I put it on fast mode and it's already been washed and it's already stretched and I've even put it away." And Daniela asks, "How fast, right?" Paolo says, "Because it's love, I saw her extending it and she even put it away, she's agile, right?" Paolo was touching your shirt all the time, and Daniela asks, "What are you hiding there?" Paolo says, "Love is nothing, I bought a new perfume and it's giving me allergies, and since I'm going to work like this, it's weird." Daniela says, "Perfume? Allergy? Wow, what a coincidence." And the mother says, "What are you suspicious of? You can talk soon, you look like you're up to something." And Daniela says, "Me? I'm not up to anything, I just came to get the key I forgot and let me know I'm going to work. You can make yourself comfortable." The two say goodbye to Daniela. Daniela stays at the door listening to everything, and Paolo, who was inside, says, "You dropped everything, the toilet and the bra, anytime she will pick us up." And the mother says, "You have to be careful." In the bathroom Daniela says, "If they thought they were going to cheat on me, they chipped, let the show begin." She comes out of the bathroom laughing and says, "So good to see you all together here, Mom." "Paolo, I have great news for you, and guess what? I'm pregnant." Paolo looks scared at his mother-in-law, but gets up and says, "Our love. Are we going to be parents?" "It came at a difficult time." And Daniela says, "Why difficult? Didn't you want to be a father? Now you're going to be a father." And Paolo replied, "No love, I'm very happy, he just took me by surprise," and hugged her. Daniela turns to her mother and asks, "I thought you would be happier, what happened? Why that face?" Her mother replied, "That's it, my daughter, I'm very happy, now I'm going to be a grandmother and my grandson is going to be the most beautiful thing, and it was my dream to have a grandson." Daniela says, "So glad you were happy." "So am I, I'm extremely happy, so much so that I'm going to tell my friends." And Paolo says, "That really counts." The mother says, "Didn't you tell me you weren't staying with her anymore?" "I don't understand." Paolo says, "Do you really think I wasn't making out with her? She is my wife and I told you from the beginning that it would be like this, I will not abandon her." "No." And the mother replied, "You didn't talk to me like that." And Paolo said, "I said yes, and see if you can stop this tantrum, 'cause if she takes I'm chipped, do you hear me?" The mother says, "I don't care anymore, I just don't accept this lie, of you lying to me." Daniela comes back and says, "I just forgot to say one thing, as we were all happy, I had an idea to have a celebration dinner, but don't worry, I'll do everything and I'll bring a very special person to this event." "Wait." Paolo asked, "Love, who is this person who is more special than your husband?" Daniela's mother says, "Or your mother who gave you life?" Daniela replied, "She is an extremely special person, you have no idea, just wait." As soon as Daniela leaves, Paulo talks to his mother-in-law, his damn manipulator, and she calls him a liar, and Paulo says, "Look here, I don't know what a surprise this is, but if you open your mouth you will see yourself with me, do you hear me?" And your mother-in-law says, "You try to threaten me, and I'll tell you something, I'm not wrong in this story alone, no, are you wrong too, or do you think it's just me? Poor little thing. Baby, I put you on the dick too, what are you thinking?" Daniela went down the stairs and heard the bell ringing and said, "My visitor has arrived," and then opens the door. A man greets her and says, "Hello, how are you?" She replied, "Hi love." Daniela takes him to her mother and husband and says, "This is Rodrigo and I wanted to introduce you to him and he is my lover." Paulo gets up and says, "How is it?" Daniela says, "That's right, and why are you nervous?" Paulo says, "You're kidding me, right?" Daniela replied, "Yes, he is my lover, and it must have been about a year since we've been together, and the child I'm expecting is his." Paul starts screaming and says, "How can you? How dare you bring this man into the house? Are you going crazy, Daniela?" "I won't accept that." Daniela's mother says, "I knew you were shameless," and Paulo says, "So it's like that, so I'm going to tell you something. I also have a lover, and guess who it is? It's your mother." Daniela starts to laugh and says, "Did you think you would knock me down with this information?" "Well, I'll tell you, I already knew it." Daniela looks at Rodrigo and says, "Is that enough for you?" Rodrigo says, "Yes, that's enough," and Paulo asks, "What is enough? What's going on here?" Daniela says, "Rodrigo was never my lover, I only made this scene in this theater because I needed a confession from you, and from now on nothing here belongs to you anymore, and I want you on the street." Paul says, "How so?" "Baby, you got it wrong. It's just that I was in a moment of tension and I ended up saying this, but we don't have anything," and your mother asks my daughter, "What do you mean?" Daniela says, "Daughter? Forget you have one. Because mom, like you, I don't need an enemy, and it's another one I want on the street." The two of them from my house disappear, and Paulo says, "What do you think, Daniela? What's with all this here? It won't stay, no, I have the right to." Rodrigo intrudes on the discussion and says, "Mr. Paulo, the thing is, actually from the moment I saw all this from here you have no right to anything else," and Paulo says, "Is that Daniela, that you wanted to leave me on the street with nothing?" Daniela says, "Unless you want to file a lawsuit, I advise you to tuck your tail between your legs and walk out of here with one hand in front and the other behind the way you arrived, you cretin." Paul says, "What did you say?" Raising his hand to hit Daniela, Rodrigo holds him and says, "Never touch a woman, Mr. Paulo," and Daniela says, "Hit, hit, that's all I know, you're not a man, you're just a coward, and hit, I'm waiting for you to knock." Paul says, "I'm leaving here, get out of my sight." Daniela looks at her mother and says, "And what are you still doing here?" She didn't feel ashamed enough, she's going to move in street. As soon as she leaves, Daniela cries and wonders how they were able to do that to her, and Rodrigo says, "Calm down. You don't need to cry, you deserve much better, and I'm wondering if you won't have dinner with me tomorrow?" Daniela says, "And now what do you think? That I have to mourn my husband's betrayal, or I should accept my lawyer's opinion?"